I'm going to take a moment to zoom way, way in on the eyes now. So I want you to see once again, this is not a football shape, okay? There's a long flattish arc here, then a sharp decline, a little point with a tear duct, and then an S curve up and then under right here. That is what most eyes look like, is some variation on that. It's very important to have the tear duct right here. Also, again, the pupil, or excuse me, the iris is not centered between the lids. In fact, the top of the iris gets cut off by the top lid in both sides. Okay? When we move to the other eye, and if we look at this other eye, let's look very carefully at that. Okay? Once again, this is the side of the face. Okay? If you look right here, we don't see the corner of the eye because the eye is actually rounding over. We're seeing the edge of the eyeball itself as it looks that direction. So we have a lid that arcs up and over and comes out a little bit this way. Between here and here, we are actually seeing the underside or the thickness of the eyelid itself. And it's hard for that to make sense in lines, but when we shade it in, that will make sense. There's the top line of the lid, which zooms over like that, almost meets the edge of the face. And then again, between the eye and the edge of the eyelid here, we see a few very small little eyelashes right there before it merges back into that line here. So we don't see a corner on that eye. That's called a three-quarter view. It rounds over like that. Next, we'll work on the nose. Most people without training just think of the nose as a triangle, and we'll do it very quickly just by doing this. I want you to notice a couple of things. There is no corner to the nose. It's a very organic shape. It is not a triangle. In fact, there is kind of a ball at the tip of the nose right here, and you can even see here is the highlight, the midtone, and the core shadow sort of wraps under like that, okay? So don't put points on the nose. They are usually a rounded form. So starting in this square, I'm going to start by putting the edge of the shadow in here because that cast shadow from the nose is very important to understanding the overall shape. So I'm going to put a light line in here, and it curls under like that, okay? Within this shape, there's an edge between the dark side and the light side right here. So I'm going to very, very lightly put that in. Then, starting here at the bottom, there's a little bit of light where that nostril is. And then there's a bit of shadow that comes up and over the side of the ball of the nose. Okay? Right there. Then there's a little bit of an edge right here on the other side of the ball of the nose. And then just the edge of the other nostril over on this side. And that curls down to about a third of the way down here. And if you notice, this nostril is not a circle, okay? It's sort of a comma shape like that, right? And then a little bit of a point and some shadow inside of that. It sort of fades out, okay? It's not just a circular hole, right? There's a little bit of shadow that curls around there. This is the top of that highlight right here. So let's drop to this next square. And what we see is about the halfway point, there's the starting of this nostril, which again is sort of a comma shape on its side. About like that maybe. And it curls up just a little bit here in the corner. And then this bottom edge comes down and goes to meet that shadow over here. Okay? And so we've got shadow in here, it comes down a little bit there. So now we have the edge of the nose. This side of the nose we barely see. It's only the faintest change in shading, so I'm not really putting a line there, right? The places where I see lines, it starts about here. These are edges of shadows I see here, okay? That's the bottom edge of the nostril. There, there, and then this is the edge of the cast shadow of the nose right there. Okay, I don't see very much right here. You will be a little older than my daughter Julia here, so you may have some little laugh lines here. If you see them, put them in. In this case, I hardly see any change right there. Okay. Next, I'm going to move to right here below the nose, and I see two parallel highlights like an 11 almost, a slight angle. So I'm going to start by putting in this edge, which comes down right to the top of the lips. Okay, then there's another shadow right about here. And then a highlight that happens kind of right there on the edge. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the mouth. Okay. So with the mouth, there's sort of an upside down W like this. Notice there's a point here, but here it rounds over a lot, kind of like the eye, all right? So we'll start in this square right here with this little pocket in the corner of the mouth, which I would estimate is right about there. And it's sort of like a little sideways, sort of like a little C shape. There's a little bit of a dip, and then a line like that. It goes down a little bit right here, then up, and then back down again like that. This top line, if you look very carefully, curves right down to this, and then curves back up again where there's a little pocket here that matches the one over here. Okay? So that's up, down, up, down. Okay? On the top here, this line doesn't actually go all the way to the corner. It starts inside right about here. And up, down, up, down, like that, right? The bottom lip is a little more simple. It's sort of like a very, very wide U shape, except for right here it starts to turn down. It comes over, kind of flattens out through the middle, and over here it rounds over a lot again, just like the eye and the edge of the nose and the top part of the lip did. Okay, now the bottom of that lip hits just below the halfway mark in that square, and if I'm looking, I don't think I quite got there, so I need to bring this down just a little further, okay? And the next thing I'm going to put on the lips, you notice there are highlights here and the rest is fairly dark. So I am going to kind of outline where that light area is on both sides and leave the rest knowing that it's a little bit darker. And over here, there's a line right there, and this side of the lip is much lighter than that side of the lip. So I'm going to put that in. And there's another little shadow right about there. Okay? There's also a slight dimple in the chin. Okay, there's a little bit of a shadow underneath the bottom lip. I'm going to roughly sketch that in. Okay, and then there's an edge between this highlight and the dark side of the face. And it sort of starts in the chin, rolls up, back down, and over kind of like that. Okay? And that happens in another place too. If you look here, this is in shadow, this is in shadow, but this part is still a little bit lighter. So I've drawn the rest of the face while you were gone, and now I'm going to lightly put in the edge between this mid-tone and that shadow. It goes kind of right down the face to this crease line right here. It starts there. And right here there's an edge between the light on that eye socket and the dark of the nose, which I'd kind of sketched in before. And there's a transitional area right there. Okay? This line is the edge of that shadow right there. And then there's another, say, edge right about here, like that, to show us a shift between a mid-tone and a shadow. Okay? Down here in the neck, there is a shadow that comes out and down like so. And there's another little crease where the neck muscles are. Kind of like that. Okay? So, like I told you, you want to keep these lines as light as possible. I'm going over them a little bit just so you can see them better on video. By the way, everyone always thinks there's a trick to doing the ears. There is no trick to doing the ears. You do it like you do everything else. You look for the shapes of the light and dark. So there's the edge of the ear. There's a highlight on the ear here. There are darker shadows in the ear here, so I have outlined those things. I've done this while you were away. There is hair there. There's no point really in trying to draw the hair right now. Just sort of put in the general outline, and I'll teach you techniques for putting the shading and the texture in later. Also, don't make the edges of the eyebrows too hard, because usually they're kind of soft unless you're drawing them on with a pencil. Okay, and there are only a few hard edges with the nose. That pretty much does it for the hard edges on the nose. Okay, and now we are mostly finished with our contour sketch of our self-portrait.